Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to show you how I practice with color, and particularly in this case, I'm going to talk about monochromatic use of one color. So we're going to do red, and we're going to talk about tones, tints, and shades, and how to incorporate them into a drawing or a portrait. Okay, so please, thank you for watching, thank you for tuning in, and subscribe if you haven't, share, and thank you for your support. So I'll be putting lots more videos with different topics that's coming up. Okay, so let's begin, everybody. So here we're going to start with red, everyone. So this is going to be on red tones. So I'm using quinacridone magenta, which is a red color, and as you can see here, and I'm going to use, of course, white and black. So let's talk about tints, shades, and tones. So in a very simple, basic way, which I'm going to show here, I'm using titanium white, and the basic way that I'm going to talk about is when you mix white to any color, you're creating a tint. When you mix gray, you are creating a tone. And when you mix black, you're creating a shade. It's just that simple. And the amount of color you add, and how you dilute it, and how much black you add to the color or how much white is all going to make the different tones and the differences. Okay, so it's as simple as that. All right, so that's basically what we're talking about. Once again, the three colors that we're using here are the quinacridone magenta, which is wonderful red in this case, and you should try this with all different colors, but in this case I'm using these three. Okay, so let's begin with creating. First, we're going to talk about making just a plain flat red color. Okay, so we're going to mix up a red, which is just a flat red color. So it's going to give you a good idea of what's happening to how we pull out these tones from this basic, color, So here we am applying the red. Very simple and basic, and once again, the way you apply it, the brush that you're going to be choosing to use, it's all up to you. You could use a flat brush or a round brush, and you're going to eventually be using all these brushes. So all of this is a wonderful exercise for you. So it's very good to keep practicing. All right, so that's your basic red, So now I'm going to create a tint by touching it up with white. Now, how much white, how light do you want your tint to be? Is it a lighter tint, a darker tint? It's all up to the way you add the paint. So the more paint you add, as you can see in this mixture, it's very lighter on one side, So this is how you create a tint, and this can be done. This should be done with every color for you to practice. In this case, we're using red. So the white is going to give you the tint, and you can vary the amount of white. As you can see here, I'm using a little bit more white to get a lighter tint. So anytime you're thinking about adding white to the color, to the base color, it would become a tint. Okay. Now, guys, I'm going to create a gray color to do the tone. So you could use a gray, or you could just create a gray like I'm doing here, and it's almost close to the paper. And this kind of gray, well, The gray can be a little bit darker, it can be lighter. It's all up to you. They're all going to create different kind of like tints and different kind of shades and different tones at different degrees, you know? A lighter tone, a darker tone, a lighter tint, a darker tint, a darker shade and a lighter shade. Okay, so this is kind of what you can come up with for a tone. And which is, so we have the red, we have the tint, and now we are laying in a tone by using gray to mix with the original base color. Okay, as simple as that, and as basic, and how the quality of the color, the quality of the paper, the quality of the canvas, all of this is going to make a big difference. So this is what is very important for you to understand. And here I'm now creating a darker shade by simply adding black, and it's as simple as that. All right, as simple as that. So the adding the white to create the tint, adding the gray to create the tone, and adding the shade to create your shades, you know, to add the black to create your shades. All right, there is your simple red tones, everybody. Now here now I'm going to show you how I can use, or you can use that particular tones to create a monochromatic drawing. Okay, so here once again I'm using a brush directly to create a sort of a generic drawing of a face, and this is going to be a woman kind of wearing a hat, really. So I'm just putting this in. So as you can see, I have a few things to mention here, guys. When you draw, and this is in real time here, and it's not speeded up, you see how I'm imagining the lines before I draw them. So if you see, I'm actually drawing the line, looking at the line. Before I actually lay it down, I see where the eye is. Like for example, the eyeball. I first visualize it and then trace what I see. Okay, for example, the right eye, you know, and the eyebrow is right there. Let me see, and then, you know, the hat line is going up there. So I created the upper eyes, you know, I have a reference point to go work from. So it's all visualizing, it's looking at the lines before you lay them down. As you can see, if you follow my brush strokes, right, or the hand, the way I'm moving my hand, you see how I'm first, without drawing, I imagine where that's going to be. You see that shape there in between the eyes. And then you see as I bring it down, I first imagine or visualize the line and then trace what I'm visualizing, you know, if that's the best way for me to explain. So you see how I'm like looking at that line there around the nostrils and the under the nostril right around there, and it's time to visualize the mouth before you actually, you know, lay it down. You see, that's where the curve, the bends and the curves, you know, it's like a sculptural shape. You need to think about it like that. Like you're putting into a cone, into a cube, you see? So it's cubical. So as you can see now, and then you see how I'm visualizing this. I see where the ear is, visualize it first, and then lay the lines, you know? It's very important. You see how I'm going to visualize the mouth, right? The mouth is just under the nose, not too far down, not too far up. You need to first focus your eyes on it, visualize where it is, and then trace what you see. So you see, I kind of visualized where that mouth is right there. You see how I'm tracing my brush without actually drawing the line? I'm tracing the thing, and this is a very important thing that's going to double up your You see how I'm tracing it in the air first, tracing it in the air, and then you see how the middle, the line, look at it and then lay it down. This is the way you need to really draw, by visualizing these lines. Then trace what you visualize. That's a good way to describe it. I don't know how else to tell you, but it's a process. It's like a mental muscle that works. You see? All right. So that's how you're going to have to lay it. So you see how I'm visualizing it and then laying it down. All right. So see, first you see the lines and then you lay them down, guys. So here's my generic sketch. Now our challenge is for us to start putting into this the chromatic. And this is a monochromatic drawing, which means we're using just one color, but we're using all these different tones. So we will begin to imagine those tones that we created into this outline drawing that we have. So we're going to fill it in, So, you can begin with the light to dark, dark to light. It's all up to you. Every artist is very different. You should develop your own style and the way you lay the paint, So the way I was talking about how to draw it down is very important. It's for you to visualize it. It's very, very important. So here I'm using one of the tones. So I began with a shade. Now I'm toning some of the shadows. Tone the shadows, and then lay in a little bit more color, on the edge of the eyes to pop them out, We're going to apply these shades and tones that we practiced into this monochromatic drawing, and it's just like shading with a pencil. Instead, we're going to be a little bit more careful with how these colors or these values match the values. It's very important. This value study is such an important step. And this is only the first basic layer, guys. This needs to be layered up and to create a good, like a good underdrawing, that's what this is. So as you can see here, we are trying to match it with this. So once again, as you can see, this drawing, monochromatic, is once again we've chosen to do it in red, so it's these tones and these shades that we're trying to put into this drawing up here, okay? So you should understand that we're kind of getting there. So this should be done in any different color, and all the colors, okay? All right, so that's what we do. We're trying to achieve. So we're putting those tones, those shades into this monochromatic drawing to make it work for us, all right? So once again, this is just a basic thing. The quality of the paper, the canvas, everything is going to affect it. If it was very professional, you would lay layers over this to create it, to make it absolutely wonderful. And to get those values right is very important. So mine is a sort of I would have to say this one is sort of a crude demonstration, really, because I'm doing it very fast. The whole thing took me about 25 minutes, which I've speeded up, so that's a very short amount of time. But it gives any beginner or an intermediate level person, or just curious artists who want to see how others work, it gives you a good idea, of how to use monochromatic drawings. Now this was done with red, but you should be able to do this with any other color as well, okay? So essentially, guys, from this lesson or this particular demonstration, you should be able to take any particular color, be able to add white to it to create a tint, be able to add gray to it to create a tone, and then be able to add black to create a shade. So when you put all this together, you will create a wonderful, wonderful study practice that's going to help you with all your paintings and give you a mental muscle kind of with colors and values, because that's one of the most important thing that's going to make your art stick out, how you use those values and the relationships with tones and shades and tints. Okay, so that's what this is all about. Now, since this is red, the next thing you're going to think about is complementary colors, things that are opposite on the color wheel to pop things out, you know. For example, you could do a green, you know, for the background, or for the hat, for example. You know, it's one idea. You could use whatever ideas you can come across and be very creative. So this is once again a creative way of thinking about how to use monochromatic drawings. I thank you so much for watching.